Hello everyone and welcome back to the Man's Kitchen. Today we're going to make a very rich and flavorful sauce called a demi-glace. Before we make this sauce, I'd ask everyone to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Hit the subscribe button down below, ding the bell icon, and leave some comments. Now let's talk about demi-glace real quick first. So it is a sauce comprised of equal parts Espagnole and estofado. You mix those equal parts together, you reduce them by half. So if you have a liter of Espagnole and a liter of estofado, put that into a 2-liter pot, reduce it down to 1 liter. What is Espagnole? Espagnole is... Okay, what's estofado? Estofado is the fancy French term for brown stock. We're going to make a brown stock. Then from a brown stock, a Espagnole, you can make an estofado, where we throw a second round of mirepoix in it, and we reduce it and we thicken it with a little flour. There's going to be wine poured in at some point too. So you take your stock, basically, split it, reduce some of it with a new mirepoix and slightly thicken it with some roux, then recombine your stock and reduce it down with some wine, and then you have a real demi-glace. I recently, a few weeks ago, saw a video where a gentleman made a demi-glace. And he's like, oh, I'm making a demi-glace. And he made a glace. Basically, all he did, what we call glace in the industry, is when you take a stock and you make a very rich, flavorful stock, and you reduce and reduce and reduce till it's like Jell-O. And that is how, if you're going to use, like, I'm a fan of throwing chicken soup base or beef soup base and stuff. From scratch, you would make glace, and then you would throw that in things. Or bouillon cubes, kind of. It's like a homemade Jell-O-y version of that. What he didn't make was demi-glace, which can be used as a sauce, and it is a mother sauce that can be used to make all kinds of things. So all you have to do once you have demi-glace is add 1 or 2 ingredients, and it gets a new name. And there's a lot of sauces that can be made from demi-glace that way. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with beef bones. I have some beef bones here, and when you roast these up, you're going to want to roast them with vegetables that are cut large too, that can sustain the roast, that can hold up to it. So I got some carrots, some onions, and some celery. And in with my onions, I also have my onion peels because they were quite clean. I got no problem with onion peels as long as they're not full of dirt. And this is my pan now, full of everything. Basically, we just had onions, carrot, and celery, and we're going to throw this into our 350-degree oven, and we're going to roast these off for an hour. So now that we've got everything out of the oven, we're just going to split it up between the 2 pots. I thought I was going to fit it all in one pot at first, but turns out not so much. So after you get everything all evenly divided out, we're going to move on to our next step, which is going to be to deglaze the tray here. So I'm just pouring some red wine on here, and I have it over the center burner lit, rubbing it down with a wooden spoon to try and get all the fond off. Any little bits of ooey gooey flavor that are stuck to the tray, we're just going to work our way off. And I didn't quite put enough wine on here, so we are going to put some more wine. And you ideally want to bring this almost to a boil while you're doing this. But I think everything kind of came off more or less before I got it boiling. So I just poured it evenly again between the 2 pots, and then I rinsed it off with a little bit of water out of the tap. Moving on, we just filled the pots up with water and let them go. We bring everything to a full boil, then reduce to a simmer. I let it go for about 8 hours, and you want to keep topping it up with fresh water as you go. You want to make sure that the bones always stay underwater, or they're not doing their job. At the end of the evening, I just strained them out through a strainer. I thought, again, that green bowl would be big enough, but it wasn't. So after I shook everything free and got more out, I ended up having to transfer it out of that into the blue bowl, which was large enough for the contents of both pots. The next day, you can see that it had the fat had solidified, and we're able to just lift it off and throw it out. You could use it for stuff. It's good fat if you want to cook with it. It's fine. It makes really good potatoes. I have no purpose for it, so I just pitched it. Okay, I had to move to the restaurant, so it's a little blurry now, but you can see my ingredients now. And in the pot, I have some butter. And we're gonna just melt that butter and add our vegetables. Backing up for a second, I had 3 pitchers of stock and 1 pitcher of wine, in case you're wondering what those pitchers were. So we just fried up the vegetables in that butter, added the flour here, so that way we could cook it up and make a brown roux. Since we're making a brown sauce, we wanted to cook the roux for about 5 minutes, and then we added our wine, and then 2 pitchers worth of stock. So those 2 pitchers will reduce down to 1 pitcher, giving us our Espanol. And we're going to bring this to a boil and reduce, and now we can strain it, strain out that fresh mirepoix, and then just push out any bits of liquid that are still in there. And then we're just going to put it back into our pot. And now, so that is our 1 part Espanol, and we'll add 1 part Estofado. And we will reduce that in half. And that is what's going to make our demi-glace. Now, back at home, the next day, we are pouring it out into the ice cube trays. I did like the other video where they ice cube trayed their glass and had ice cubes of it. Why I think demi-glace is more versatile than glass is because I can take a couple ice cubes of this out at a time, use them as a very rich brown sauce, or I can take an ice cube of this out and throw it into something else as a flavor booster. It's more versatile than glass because this can be a sauce on its own. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and have yourself a great day.